Alright, this is the setup I'm trying to accomplish. I want to have a rear camera monitor, have it temporarily plugged into the Magicycle monitor right now because it's out of juice, it needs some charge. I've also have the telephone mount that I won during a live stream, lucky draw. And I've added my own light so that I can have a little better headlight situation, and it's got a strobe, a middle, low, middle, and high. And the high is really helping, and you see it's blinking red because it's low. It needs to be recharged as well. Originally, you can see where we zip tied the camera and the flashlight to the rack. However, it did not give the view I wanted, so we're going to move it to the tail light. I'm going to make a pattern that'll show the contour of the fender and the placement of the bracket and the holes. And the way I think that would be easiest to do that would just be with a piece of paper and pencil, and do some scribing and some cutting and just kind of adjust it, and then maybe make a press type fitting. So that's what I'll do next. The situation we had making that plate was the contour of the fender is like such, and we wanted to make the plate where it would come in and look attractive by mimicking the shape of the top of the fender without touching the fender. So on the edge here, I'm going to show you the principle behind it. The offset of the pinpoint will stay the same during the striking. So if you keep the ink pen straight up and down, and as you roll, keeping it in the same place, in the same contact, it'll mimic exactly the shape of the fender or whatever. If you're trying to cut tile, it's the same principle. You can lay a piece of tile up to the wall, scribe on it, and then go back and cut that with a tile saw, and it'll fit in perfectly. So brown envelope, I've left a factory edge on it, which is up on the top. And to keep everything good and square, I'm going to go ahead and get a good straight cut here. And I'll do the same to the other side. And then now we'll be able to use that factory edge right here as the guide with two square edges. All right, what I did is I marked me a center line on the fender, and I marked a center line on the paper. And I'm just going to lay it up here and work my way down with arches and cut and arches and cut and arches and cut until I can get this flat edge centered, lined up, and then that'll be my pattern. So we'll go ahead and just make the first arch. These arches are going to be off, until we get close, and then we'll get a little bit more detail. So, it's just basically the same way you would do any kind of other scribing, and you just repeat and repeat and repeat. And as I'm progressing along, I'm still having my paper up just a little high here. Just kind of crease it there to make sure that I'm staying centered. And I'm going to notch that out, and I'm going to be pretty close at that point. All right, so this should be my final scribe. I'll try to do this one a little bit more precise. All right, and that should get it, and we'll go with that. Okay, that's got it pretty close to perfect right there. I left it so there's enough clearance so that we don't have any vibrations or any rattling, any squeaking. And the paper, the natural edge of the paper is up flush. So with that knowledge, I'm gonna know that I have so much clearance up underneath there. And I'm gonna start making imprints for the holes. And I'm gonna probably just go ahead and mount the light back on there so I have a perfect alignment of the holes. So what I decided to do was to go ahead and poke a hole. And I've got the screws back in the tail light. So I'm gonna put one in, then I'll remove this other clip, and then I can make sure that I'm making this in the right spot. Bingo. So that's what I've got to work with, and I understand that I can go up, you know, a ½ inch high on the plate if I need to. The light has to basically stay there. I've got to make sure that I remember that I've got a wire plug that I've got to have a notch to put that through. I'll kind of show you the setup I was thinking about that we're going to try. I'll take the blinky light and I'm going to kind of make it right here. And then I'll take the camera and here. Now I'm going to make it so that they both, you know, bump out evenly. Backup plan is going to be that second plate with just the mounting for the camera here in the center. And this is kind of a ball and socket type camera. And the mount that was supposed to go on the seat post, my height is not tall enough that I had enough room to utilize that. Plus, when you put a bag on the back rack, it eliminates that capability as well. So this simply screws out. Here's a Phillips head screw in the center of the socket. So that removes, and then you have a square and a square and a round, a square peg and a round hole. So we're gonna 3D print this part of it onto the plate, making it protrude out a little bit so that when we put our cup back on, snap the ball and screw it in, we still have angle up and down, left and right capabilities of that camera. Starting to produce some accessories and modifications available for my Magicycle bike. The first thing I wanted was to have my son and I work on a project where we would make an adapter plate to fit a rear view camera and also some additional safety lighting. So started out with paper pattern, and we progressed on to first generation, second generation. The idea, of course, is to have the monitor kind of centrally located on the handlebars so that I'm not looking left or having to look right, taking my eyes off of what's immediately in front of me just to look at a mirror. To focus in on a smaller mirror for me is more difficult than to look straight ahead and just bounce my eyes down, kind of like you do if you were riding in your car at the speedometer. It's a little bit easier for me. So we've produced one that has on the left side the safety flashing light we had to build out, and then of course the internals so that it would accept it. Same thing here, we 3D printed, or I should say my son printed a base so that the ball and socket could still work given the flexibility of the camera. The brake light switch wiring still goes through. And if somebody just wanted just the rear view camera, we've in development of a secondary plate. and probably many other things to come. So what we're trying to do now is to figure out how many people might be interested in the same setup. We could just sell plates only. If you do that, you've got to make sure that you buy the right camera, because the plate is going to be manufactured for this particular product that I own. Or if you want to buy it as a kit and not have to fool with all that, we can probably make some arrangements for that. The flashy light and the headlight come as a kit, and then the camera of course comes as a kit. So let me know. We'll get a little feedback from y'all. This will be low production and also print on demand, so it may take a week depending on what his workflow is, but we are going to engineer, design, and fabricate many things in the future. So we'd be interested in your comments, as well as any suggestions for product that you'd like to see manufactured, and just let us know.